The Boston Red Sox will win lots of games moving forward in 2025 if they continue to be aggressive on the base paths like they were on Sunday.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free. So you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Happy Monday. Welcome to the show where the Red Sox just took a great series from the Cleveland Guardians on the road, where Friday night's game was postponed due to inclement weather in Cleveland. So they played a doubleheader on Saturday. The Red Sox fell in the first game 5-4. And then in the second game of the doubleheader, the Red Sox recorded a 7-3 win. Thanks in large part to Walker Buehler, who pitched very well in the game and recorded the win. He went 6 innings, giving up 7 hits and 3 earned runs while walking 1 and striking out 3. So another good outing from Buehler. His last few outings really have been solid. And that's been good for the Red Sox rotation because on the other hand, you have Tanner Houck, who has been struggling. He threw in the first game of the doubleheader, going 5 innings, giving up 8 hits and 4 earned runs while striking out 6 and walking 1. The catch there, though, all 4 runs that he gave up were in the first inning, and he made lots of good adjustments after that inning to be more competitive in the rest of the outing. He wasn't really hitting the strike zone with his splitter, so he cut down a little bit on throwing that pitch and really honed in on the sinker, which was a pitch that he was throwing really well in that game. So he was able to adapt and utilize both that and his sweeper as his main pitches. So the Red Sox did lose that game, but it was a promising sign that Houck was able to clean some things up for the rest of the outing. Then they won the second game. And then on Sunday, they had a big offensive onslaught, winning 13-3 against Cleveland. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that on today's show, as well as Brayan Bello, who made his second start of the season with Boston in this game. It was great to see him out there again. And also going to be talking about Sean Newcomb. Could bullpen Newcomb be a thing the rest of the season? We did see him make an appearance out of the pen in Sunday's game as well. So the Red Sox pulled off a big series win against a team that was very good last year and made a relatively deep playoff run. And this is a really good sign for the Red Sox, a team that certainly has the talent, but hasn't necessarily played so far up to the level that they are capable of. And one of the biggest things that I noticed in this series over the weekend that the Red Sox did really well is with their base running, being aggressive on the base paths. That is something that has always set the Red Sox apart, that helps them to win games, because the Red Sox have a lot of speed on their roster right now. Guys who are able to turn singles into doubles, guys who are not afraid to steal bases and take advantage of every single mistake. And those types of things rattle opposing defenses and opposing pitchers. And as a result, we saw a very messy game from the Guardians on Sunday. They made 4 errors as a team in that game, and the Red Sox took full advantage. For example, at one point in the game, there was a throw down to second base because Christian Campbell was trying to steal second. The second baseman bobbled the ball and could not get the tag down. So while that was happening, Rob Refsnyder came and stole home. So the Red Sox capitalized on a mistake that Cleveland made, and they did what they do best, which was be aggressive on the base paths, and they went for it, and Refsnyder stole home. The catch, this was the second day in a row in which the Red Sox stole home plate as Jarren Duran took advantage in the second game of the doubleheader on Saturday, and he was able to steal home. He had been about halfway down the third base line, so he was definitely itching to do it, was able to slide in cleanly and steal home in that game after he had already, in his at-bat, hit a triple down the first base line. He had basically turned a double into a triple, driven in a run, and then, oh, by the way, he stole home plate, which further just emphasizes the importance of Jarren Duran to this Boston Red Sox team. He had a big series going 3 for 5 on Saturday in the second game of that doubleheader, and he went 4 for 6 in Sunday's game. And then in the first game of the series, he did go 0 for 4, but because he woke up in the second 2 games of that series, it makes us feel like there's hope that maybe Jarren Duran is starting to wake up offensively. According to his numbers, he has had a lot of bad luck at the plate this year, hasn't necessarily taken bad swings or had terrible plate appearances per se. It's just that he hasn't really gotten a whole lot of luck and things that have gone his way offensively. Finally had a breakthrough in these 2 games in the 3-game series in which he went off offensively. And when Jarren Duran is hitting well, it seems like the rest of the offense is also hitting well. I've always said that Jarren Duran is kind of that spark plug, the guy who makes things happen. And because he's so versatile and he can do a lot of different things out there, really solid offense, really solid defense, and can steal bases, we need him out there. And the value that he brings goes unmatched, and there aren't other guys around the league that really can do everything Jarren Duran does. And he kind of starts off this whole base stealing party for the Red Sox because he's the leadoff hitter and he can get himself on base, turn singles into doubles the majority of the time, and get himself into scoring position quickly. That naturally already starts to rattle an opposing pitcher, making them maybe miss the strike zone a little bit more, or making them a little bit more on edge when they're pitching. And then they start getting in their head because they know, okay, he was the first batter that I faced and he's already in scoring position. So that naturally leads to more opportunities for the Red Sox, because psychologically that could lead to more errors by the opposing team, which is exactly what we saw on Sunday in Cleveland. The Guardians kept making mistakes, and the Red Sox on the base paths will always take advantage of that. They are great base stealers. They are great at reading the ball. At the beginning of the season, they were making some base running mistakes that were low IQ mistakes. They seem to have gotten a little bit better with that now that the season is about a month in. And this is something that will set the Red Sox apart moving forward. They are not going to be the team that's going to win all these games by crushing home runs all the time. They're not going to be the team that consistently has the entire lineup 1 through 9 producing, because that's just rare to happen in general. But when they are producing, they have hitters that can get on base. They have hitters who can make things happen. And because they have the speed on their side, they can create runs and create opportunities. And that's the biggest thing that I really liked from the Red Sox in this series, was the fact that they were creating those opportunities. They were hitting with runners on base. They were hitting with 2 strikes. And that's a big thing that the Red Sox have struggled with earlier on in the season this year, was not being able to hit in 2 strike counts. And in this series, they were able to hit in those types of situations, and they were able to capitalize when guys were on base and actually drive in runs. And it was beautiful to see. So there are a lot of positive things to take away from it, but the Red Sox need to continue to be aggressive on the base paths, because if they are going to win games moving forward and be consistent, that is something that they can use to their advantage, especially if they're facing a really good pitcher who's on point that day and is going to throw a lot of strikes. It's like if you go against a team's ace. Say you're going against a guy like Paul Skeens, for example, from the Pirates, arguably the best pitcher in the league right now. Say the Red Sox are going against him, and they know that it could be difficult to get things going offensively because of how good of a pitcher he is, especially if he's at his best that day. The Red Sox can generate situations. They can be patient at the plate. They can work his pitch count. And if they can get themselves on base in any capacity, whether that's taking walks or trying to knock in infield hits, because guys like Jarren Duran and Saddam Rafaela can get on base that way, then they can start to utilize this strategy of being aggressive on the base paths and trying to get themselves into scoring position early and set themselves up to where it makes Skeens a little bit nervous, and then it could throw off his game moving forward. So even if it doesn't feel on paper like that type of stuff is important, it absolutely is so important to the game, and the Red Sox do it so well that they really need to hone in on those base running skills that they have and utilize them to their advantage moving forward and capitalize on the opportunities given to them. So I'm definitely happy with what I saw overall in the series. Good stuff that we saw from Walker Buehler in game 2 of the doubleheader. Really glad to see him really finding his form with this team, which has been so important to the Red Sox, especially with Tanner Houck's struggles. So hopefully that continues for him and it's something that he is able to utilize using forward. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about a pitcher who made his second start of the season after starting the season on the injured list, and that's Brayan Bello. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on that action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That is a great deal. If you like sports betting, definitely check it out. Be sure to check out the show later this week, as on Wednesday, you will be hearing an update on Connor Wong, who is set to make his second rehab start with the Woo Sox on Tuesday. I will be at that Woo Sox game, so I'll be talking all about how he looked as he looks to get back to the Red Sox, and you may even hear from Connor Wong himself also, so be sure to tune into the show on Wednesday for that, and continue to make it your first listen of every day. As we saw the Red Sox win a really good series against the Cleveland Guardians over the weekend, they just had a lot of good things going for them and lots of things that they need to continue to capitalize on, including their strong base running skills and their ability to rattle opposing pitchers and opposing defenses like we saw with Cleveland. They just were not themselves on Sunday. Nothing was really going Cleveland's way and everything was going the Red Sox way, which I 100% will take every day of the week. Rob Refsnyder continues to crush lefties. That's another big standout in the game. He recorded another 2 hits in Sunday's game, including a home run. That's why Alex Cora continues to put him in the lineup when there is a lefty on the mound, because he's just one of the team's best hitters in those types of situations. So it always makes sense for the Red Sox to have him in the lineup with a lefty pitching. So he was really good. And another player that we should feel pretty positive about moving forward is Brayan Bello, who made his second start of the season with the team on Sunday and recorded the win. He threw 6 innings, giving up 6 hits and 3 earned runs. He also struck out 4 in the game. So still doesn't generate tons of swings and misses, but what does he do well? Generate lots of ground balls. That's a big thing about Brayan Bello that has always stood out about his pitching. He is in the 71st percentile for ground ball percentage, which is very good. And something that I really love seeing from him is that's his best skill set, is he is able to throw pitches that generate ground balls a lot. And he continued that in his outing on Sunday. That's something I really was happy to see from him. The biggest thing about Brayan Bello that he struggled with in his first start was his command. He definitely had the stuff, and his pitches that he was throwing were good. He just had trouble locating the strike zone. Definitely needs to still cut down on the walks, because he did issue 3 walks in Sunday's game. So that's definitely something that he needs to continue to work on, but he's just moving forward and showing upward progress as he looks to get back to his regular form. And hopefully the command is something that continues to come. Now, one thing I will notice and note about him is that he was really solid in the first 5 innings, was pitching a shutout in those innings, and he had a good arsenal that he was throwing, primarily his sinker, which was a pitch he was heavily utilizing, as well as a changeup that he was throwing a good amount. He also had a slider that he was completely locked in with. The Guardians hitters were not able to hit that pitch. He looked very solid with it. So it would have been nice to see him throw it in there a little bit more. But when he threw that pitch, it was solid. He also had his fastball, which is his best pitch. That's the pitch that he had moved away from in the first half of the season last year, brought it back in the second half, and he found a lot of success with it. He told me after his second rehab start in Worcester that he was planning on putting it back into his arsenal this year. And that is, in fact, what he has been doing. In those first 5 innings, he was mixing the fastball in a good amount, and the Guardians were having trouble hitting that pitch as well. So then things kind of unraveled for him a little bit in the 6th inning. He gave up a base hit and a walk in that inning, and then gave up a 3-run home run. He ended up being able to complete the inning and get through 6 complete innings before Garrett Whitlock came in relief of him in the 7th. But he did throw 6 complete innings, but he looked a little bit worse in the 6th inning than he did in the first 5 innings. And the primary reason that I noticed during that 6th inning as the reason why this happened is because he did move away from the fastball. He was throwing the off-speed stuff, and the Guardians were kind of eating those pitches alive in that 6th inning. And what I didn't really understand was why he didn't move back into using the fastball once he saw early on in that inning that the opposing hitters were all over his off-speed stuff, because the fastball was working really well for him when he was earlier on in the outing. So that was a pitch that I expected him to continue to utilize throughout the course of the outing as a whole. And he had moved away from it in that 6th inning. And that's when the Guardians really started to hit off of him. So that was definitely something that was a little bit puzzling to me, was that he didn't really use that pitch. Maybe his thought process was, okay, I have a big lead to work with, so there's wiggle room here. So I should focus more on the off-speed stuff because I know my fastball is there. And for pitchers, as they're trying to get back to their normal form, they're trying to figure out what pitches are going to work best for them this year. And when you're starting and you do have a pretty solid lead to work with, that is the time where you can experiment a little bit more. So maybe in that situation, the thought process for Brayan Bello was, okay, I have a big enough lead. I've gotten run support today. So worst comes to worst, I give up a couple runs, but let me try to utilize my off-speed stuff, make sure I still have that, because I know I have the fastball as one of my lockdown pitches. Not necessarily the best strategy, as you should be finishing the start going with what works for you, but it could have been a matter of, I'm still trying to get back into the swing of things. I'm going to see what I have, what works for me and what doesn't in today's outing. So that would be one of the logical explanations I can think of for it, but it was definitely a little bit interesting to see him move away from the fastball in the 6th inning. What does that show about Brayan Bello moving forward? It shows that he absolutely needs to utilize the fastball. He absolutely should be mixing that pitch back into his arsenal here moving forward, because, again, it is his best pitch. It is the pitch that has guys on their toes, that throws off opposing batters because they are not able to hit it that well. And as he learned in the first half of the season last year, Andrew Bailey's strategy of utilizing just the off-speed stuff more and severely moving away from the fastball doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Generally, he's been using the fastball about 4% of the time this year. I would like to see him increase that percentage, because when he was mixing that in, he was finding a lot more success in the second half last year and also in Sunday's outing. So it really goes to show that Bello needs to focus on doing what's best for him and honing in on the pitches that work well for him. The slider is definitely a pitch he could use as a put away pitch. The fastball he should continue to utilize in each at bat that he approaches when it's necessary to use it. Don't shy away from throwing the fastball because you feel like you're not following the approach that Andrew Bailey wants you to take, because Bailey can adapt. If he sees that the fastball is working, then he'll say, okay, yeah, by all means, please continue to throw it, because obviously he wants these guys to be successful more than anything. So I'd like to see Bello continue to utilize the fastball, continue to utilize that changeup and the sinker, 2 pitches that he has thrown very well so far overall. So I'm hoping that he is able to move forward and continue to have outings in which he's able to get out of base traffic and he's able to get his command a little bit more under wraps, because that is the biggest thing for me that I noticed with him that still is a bit of a concern moving forward. But overall, good stuff from Bello. There's a lot of good things you can take away from it. He has a lot of pitches under control, and the fact that he was able to pitch 6 innings, he threw 99 total pitches in the outing, so that was definitely promising too. He's able to maintain that workload and pitch deeper into games, because that was a big issue last year for the Red Sox in general, was that the starting pitchers weren't able to throw deep enough into games, so the bullpen was getting overworked. So the fact that he shows that he's able to near 100 pitches in an outing is good, and he threw 61 of those pitches for strikes. So obviously would like to see him get the strikeout and just strikes thrown rates up in general, but I liked a lot of things I saw from him, and I'm hoping moving forward he can keep that up. So now when you look at the Red Sox rotation, you have Garrett Crochet, Walker Buehler, Tanner Houck, and Brayan Bello, all of which are going to be regular pieces of the rotation. Then you have Lucas Giolito being added back into the mix. And because of the fact that Tanner Houck has been struggling and not exactly pitching to the level overall that the Red Sox have wanted him to pitch at, it's a great opportunity for guys like Brayan Bello and Lucas Giolito to really step up and show that they can be key pieces of this rotation behind Garrett Crochet, even Walker Buehler, because he's pitched well his last few outings. Maybe he can be that next line of command after Garrett Crochet in this rotation. But either way, I'm hoping to see Bello continue to just go up from here as he works his way back and gets back to his regular form. And Lucas Giolito is also going to be returning to the Red Sox rotation very soon as well. He is scheduled to make his first start for the team this upcoming week. So because of the fact that he's returning, Sean Newcomb likely is the guy who's going to be moved out of the rotation. Where does he go from here? Well, I'm going to be talking a little about that next. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Red Sox season progresses, I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time really will guarantee you the lowest prices. I have not used any other ticketing vendor since I've started using it because the price difference is tremendous. And it's the only thing I use now to purchase any sort of game or live event tickets. Highly recommend it. As the Red Sox start to get healthier, it's exciting to think about because you have Brayan Bello, who's already back in the rotation. You have Liam Hendricks back in the bullpen. You have Lucas Giolito returning to the rotation. Connor Wong coming back into the fold shortly after that. So it feels like you're getting guys back from injury, and it's very exciting. And as the Red Sox have had injuries, they've had to have guys to hold down the fort. And one of those guys who has helped hold down the fort in the rotation has been Sean Newcomb, who has definitely been up and down with the Red Sox. Had one start where he was very solid, has looked kind of rough in others, and he hasn't necessarily been a super valuable rotation piece in terms of ability level and performance, but in terms of his ability to be out there and fill a spot, that for sure has filled the need for this Red Sox team. But he did pitch out of the bullpen for the Red Sox on Sunday when they were in a pretty big blowout game against the Cleveland Guardians. They ended up winning the game 13-3. Brayan Bello started the game and threw 6 innings, as I mentioned. And then Garrett Whitlock came in and threw the 7th inning. Just through that inning, he gave up 1 hit, but looked solid again, giving up no earned runs. He just looks super in his element out of the bullpen. And it really makes me happy to see that. I think the Red Sox are finally done with the starting pitching experiment with him. For one, he couldn't stay healthy when the Red Sox were trying to experiment with him in that role. And for two, he just wasn't as solid. His best stuff comes out of the pen, so I'm really happy the Red Sox are deciding to keep him there. Liam Hendriks also made an appearance because of the fact that the game was a blowout. He threw the 9th inning and looked good. Gave up no runs. He did walk somebody, but he struck out 2 batters. So definitely forward progress for Hendriks as well. That was a good spot to throw him because since he's not fully back acclimated and he's still trying to get back into the swing of things, he is the type of guy that you say, okay, because we have so much wiggle room in this game and we're winning by a lot of runs, let's throw him in here to further get him acclimated again to being back here. So I like that they threw him there and good stuff from him. But Sean Newcomb also made an appearance. He threw the 8th inning. He gave up 1 hit and no runs. He also recorded 3 strikeouts. So talk about an outing for him. The biggest thing for Newcomb was he went out there and he was firing on all cylinders. He was really pounding that strike zone and he was just throwing the ball with a lot of confidence. His fastball was traveling 94, but had a lot more spin on it than it really seemed like it did when he was in the rotation. And he went out there and he just said, good morning, good afternoon, good night. It's like, this game's ending now. We are good to move on to the next game. And he was not messing around, went out there, did his thing and said, all right, Hendriks, now you. So I really liked what I saw from him. The way that he was out there, keeping his composure, able to just go out there and pound the strike zone, that's really promising. And the biggest reason why this is significant is because the Red Sox are still trying to figure out roster move wise who they're going to replace when Lucas Giolito comes back. Obviously, he's going to be part of the rotation, and there's no mystery that Sean Newcomb won't be part of the rotation anymore. But something the Red Sox could consider is maybe keeping Newcomb around in the bullpen and maybe moving somebody else off the roster who has struggled out of the bullpen, because the point is for the team to be the best version of themselves every day. And they're constantly making changes to make that possible. And I'm glad the Red Sox threw Newcomb for an inning out of the pen, because they probably said, hey, you know what? We might as well see what we have from him in the bullpen, because they know that Lucas Giolito is coming back. So they know he would be the guy who would no longer be a part of the starting rotation anymore upon Giolito's return. But they thought about it and maybe they said, you know, if he has good stuff out of the bullpen, he could be helpful to utilize moving forward, because he is a veteran who has experience. He is a guy has definitely shown potential this year. Even though he struggled in some of his starts this year, he definitely showed some good stuff that we can work with moving forward. So the Red Sox probably said, hey, we might as well look into this situation, throw him out of the pen and see what he has. And again, in a blowout win, that was the game to do it in, where you have some uncertainty surrounding where he's at and what he can actually bring to the table in the pen. That is the time to throw in those types of guys when the game is basically over already. So that's something to consider, because the Red Sox bullpen has definitely been a little bit bumpy this year, particularly the middle relief guys. You have your high leverage guys in Justin Slayton, Garrett Whitlock, and Aroldis Chapman, who have all been super reliable all season long. And then you have Justin Wilson, who has been somewhat reliable as well, and not as reliable all season long as the other 3 have been. He did have trouble finding the strike zone in a recent outing, but overall, he has been one of the better relievers as well. But then you have guys in the middle who are iffy, and you could replace one of them with Newcomb. For example, Brennan Bernardino, who's been a little bit mixed this year, has had some good stuff, but has had some troubles. Or you have other guys that you can kind of throw in that middle relief role who have been off and on, like Greg Weissert. And you could consider keeping Newcomb around in a longer relief type of role to replace a guy like that, or even just to be a guy if they need somebody to eat some innings. Maybe the starter has a bad outing and gets pulled early and they need somebody to come in and pitch maybe the remainder of the fourth inning in the fifth and the sixth, so that they don't waste the bullpen too much. Maybe that's the type of role that Newcomb could have. So I'm glad we saw him throw out of the pen, and I'm glad he brought good stuff, because he honestly looked a lot more confident than he did when he was starting, and his pitches were thrown with a lot more conviction, and it just looked solid overall. He had a really good command, and he looked like he wasn't messing around. And maybe that's the version we need from him. Maybe he feels relieved, and maybe he would prefer to be out of the pen because maybe he feels less pressure there. And maybe that's something the Red Sox moving forward are going to consider. So these are the types of games, like I said, on Sunday in a blowout, where you experiment with throwing guys like that. And that's what I liked about Newcomb being in that situation. See what he has, see if he's somebody who could potentially contribute out of the pen moving forward. And we'll see. Maybe the Red Sox do consider something like that. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But I do appreciate you tuning in to Locked on Red Sox and making it your first listen today. For your second listen, be sure to check out the all new Locked on MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked on MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. This show really keeps you up to date on all things going on around the league, all the games that happen that day, any crazy things that happen, and maybe they'll even go as far as to talk about Sean Newcomb and his killer slurve pitch, which 100% is his lockdown pitch. It was when he was starting, and he threw it a lot in relief on Sunday. It's basically a breaking pitch that is a hybrid of a slider and a curveball. While a slider is thrown harder with tighter break and a curveball is thrown slower with loopier break, a slurve is somewhere in between, relying on a combination of both horizontal and vertical movement. It's a pitch that really works well for Newcomb. He threw it in that game on Sunday. So tune in to the Locked on MLB Game Night show. Maybe they'll be talking about it. Who knows? But like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.